Shalom, Tavy.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
I transferred the controls over to you, so anybody who pops in, you can let them in.
All right, I'm just gonna start promptly at 5 o'clock. And then we'll get started from there.
And you turn Esther chapter 1?
Yeah, starting at Esther chapter 1. I'm probably gonna go to 5 because I gotta start by like 5:30. Start getting prepared for the new moon feast we're gonna be having at the house.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna go on Esther chapter 1.
What y'all feasting on?
We're gonna be doing some Mexican style stuff, or black Mexican style stuff. I'm gonna do some nachos. I'm gonna do Doritos nachos, get some nachos. Do some turkey instead of ground beef, get the seasoning and all that, get some chives, onions, and all that stuff. Go from there.
That sounds so good.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Give me a couple minutes and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Alrighty. Should I read up here? Should I read down there? More comfortable.
And this is gonna be every Monday, right?
No, not every Monday starting. Just when I can. That's why I'm just doing the first Monday at this week. First Monday of the month at this point in time. But as I define a better schedule, then I add more. Because I don't want to start something that I can't finish, you know?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm just right now I'm doing the Wednesdays. That's my office on the Wednesdays, and then I'm just doing this to hold myself accountable with more reading.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm putting an announcement in there because I'm not gonna be on here.
We be forgetting.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I am in the room again. Again, this is just open.
Okay, go have a seat till I need you. You, come here.
All right, where is my? All right, I'll be right back. I gotta grab my other Bible. Hey, shalom, shalom.
Say hey. Oh my God, sorry.
Oh, no worries. All right, let's see here. Start about 3 minutes.
This is why I'm usually on mute because he be screaming.
All right, y'all. We're gonna start about 2 minutes. We're gonna be going over. I'm just like I said, this is my personal reading and open for everybody that want to join. I'm gonna be going over the book of Esther. Probably do about 5 chapters. Trying to go between time of 5:30 to 5:45 in preparation for the new moon. Gotta go get some stuff from the store and things, but I want to take some time to just go into the Most High Word and just do some reading. So we'll start promptly at 5 o'clock.
All right. You starting chapter 1, right?
Yeah, we'll start at chapter 1.
Okay.
Mhm. Esther. Oh yeah, let's see here. All right, it's 5 o'clock on my end. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. You can hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you. Quick question. If I do have a question, just you want me to wait to the end or
I would say write it down. Write
okay.
it down, and we can see if we can get it answered during the Q&A.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want questions, because it'll help me as well, but I may not be able to answer them.
Oh no, it's fine. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. This is the book of Esther, chapter 1, starting at verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India, even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces. That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces, being before him, when he shewed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. Verse 5. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Verse 6. Where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings, and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver, upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in the vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also, Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagatha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Carshena, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Mechnicum, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Mechnicum answered before the king and princes, Vashti, the queen, hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad to all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti, the queen, to be brought in before him, but she came not. Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the kings, princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. All right, that was Esther chapter 1 for those just coming in. If you have questions, have them written down, write them down. So, when we get to the Q&A during, whether it be during the end of the midweek study or the Sabbath study, you'll have some questions that we can talk about and go over. Moving on into Esther chapter 2. Verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan, the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hez the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Hegai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him. And he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her, out of the king's house, and he preferred her and her maidens unto the best of the house of the women. Verse 10. And Esther had not showed her people, nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house, to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go in to King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given to her, to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abigail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her, let me read that again, verse 15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king of Chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight, more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head, and made her queen instead of Vashti. Verse 18. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces, and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred, nor her people, as Mordecai had charged. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the king was known to Mordecai, and the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the thing thereof in Mordecai's name. And when the inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out thereof. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. All right, we just finished reading Esther chapter 2. We're going into chapter 3. Remember, if you guys have any questions, anything like that, make sure you write them down for the Q&A that we'll have on Wednesday and on the Sabbath. Going into chapter 3, verse 1. After these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he
hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman, from day to day and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad, dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, is it not for the king's profit? Hold on, let me read that again. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agag, the Jews' enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause perish, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, to take the spoil of them for a prey. Verse 14. The copy of the writings for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan, the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. Is that it? All right, that was chapter 3 of Esther. We'll move into chapter 4. Book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry. And came even before the king's gate, for one might enter into. Let me read verse 2 again. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not. Then called Esther for Haddish, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to decree it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of this, to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to him to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place, but thou and thy father shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return to Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 30 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Right, that was chapter 4. Are y'all able to, as I'm reading, has anybody been able to write down a question?
No questions as of yet for me.
Yeah, no
Okay.
questions. Sorry.
Cool. All right, cool. Moving in forward, we're going to go to chapter 5. All right. It's the book of Esther, chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition, and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther, the queen, did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared, but myself, and tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. That's a hater. Sore hater. All right, moving into the final chapter I'll be reading. We're going to chapter 6. Chapter 6. It's the book of Esther, chapter 6, verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor and dignity hath been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself? And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let his apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal, whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Verse 10. Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai, the Jew, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback throughout the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house, mourning and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends, everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. All right. That concludes my reading for today. I hope y'all were able to get some, as I was reading, to be able to paint the picture of what was going on. So basically what we read so far, Mordecai set up Esther to go in unto the king to be, have the opportunity to be the new queen. And she was successful at doing that through the power of the Most High. And during that time, Haman, Mordecai chose not to bow down to another man. And, that made Haman very wroth. And Haman began to start plotting against him. But all that came for naught, because when Mordecai stood and told Esther what had happened, that you had two people trying to plot against the king, try to take the king out, Mordecai took the opportunity to say, hey, you got two people trying to kill you. And then later down the line, the king couldn't sleep at night. He remembered, hey, this dude basically saved my life. Hey, what can I do for him? And as Haman, he called Haman in, and Haman, thinking highly of himself, thinking that the king is thinking about him, who he wanted to delight. Haman thought about himself and what he would want for him, but it was turned over to Mordecai. And Mordecai was, I want to say worship, but he was acknowledged for the things that he had done. So, and now the tables are turning against Haman. And I encourage y'all to read on your own time, as you move forward to get further understanding. But yeah, this is the first one of my personal readings that I'll be doing on Mondays. Not all Mondays, but the first Monday right now, as it stands, the first Monday of the month. And we'll just go from there. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Remember, if you have any questions, anything, y'all write them down so we can discuss them as we move forward.
Anya, I really enjoyed it. I was able to get a couple of questions.
Awesome. Cool.
And then we should finish reading out Esther, or are we going to pick back up on the next month?
Well, I would encourage you to go ahead and finish out on your personal time, because
Okay.
I may be because like I said, I'm using this to help me with my reading and for anybody that want to join in. So I'll encourage you to go ahead and continue to read it and finish it out, because it's a short story, but it's a good story. It's very engaging.
Yeah, this was very I enjoyed it because even though I've read Esther, it gave me a better insight rereading it again.
Right.
Like you know, learning that this is the Persian captivity, but they weren't like in like captivity where they were bondswomen and bondsmen, you know.
Right.
It just better perspective of what kind of captivity this was and when these people were over there in their area.
Yeah, this my like. I didn't really read Esther until like 2 or 3 years ago. You know, I think a lot of us didn't read a lot of certain books in the Bible. You know, you would just skim through it, but you know, within the last 2 or 3 years, Esther, Nehemiah, and Ezra are becoming my favorite books. You know, and that's why I'm just going back through to get a better understanding of the history of what was going on during that time.
Right, because if you get a better understanding of the history, you can understand the New Testament. That's what I'm starting to put together. Like, if you can't, you can pick all the stuff from the New Testament in the Old Testament. So
Right.
it's so like it's like the book is like it's alive. And I keep trying to tell people it's not an Old Testament; it's a First Testament. It doesn't end.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad y'all came on with me, and I'm glad y'all were able to get something from this. I'm looking forward. Y'all know I got my Monday, the Monday of the first month, and then the third Wednesday of the month. So I check back in with y'all throughout the Telegram. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
You too.
You too. All praises.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom.